The question that has to be answered is, at what point does society have the responsibility to protect life? It's just that simple.
When you take a position like that, there's so much that you don't always see. Let's talk about Texas as an example. There's a woman who had to be hooked up to a breathing machine because she had complications with her pregnancy and could not get an abortion. A 10-year-old girl in Ohio was raped and had to cross state lines to get an abortion. That's Ron Johnson's America. The senator would rather make a political point than to do the right thing to protect families and to protect the health of women.
Well, it's officially debate season, and you know what that means. More Republicans than ever are either dodging their opponents or making absolute fools out of themselves. And that sure was the case earlier this week when Democrat Mandela Barnes faced down Republican hack Ron Johnson in Wisconsin.
Whenever I see a police officer, I go up to him and I say, "Thank you for your service." And if I have time, I say, please don't be dispirited by the loud few who are trying to defund you.
I'm sure he didn't have the same interaction with the 140 officers that were injured during the January 6th insurrection. One officer was stabbed with a metal stake, another crushed between a revolving door, another hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. So when we talk about respect for law enforcement, let's talk about the 140 officers that he left behind because of an insurrection that he supported.
After a beating like that, it's safe to say that Mandela Barnes won't be on Ron Johnson's Christmas card list this year. And wait, I'm being told we have some footage of Johnson recovering from that unwelcome assault by facts.
Cheers.
But let's go back to that debate for a second. Mandela Barnes makes a great point that too few Democrats are comfortable saying. You can't claim to be pro-police while throwing your support behind the men and women who literally attacked the police on January 6th. Here's Ron Johnson just a few months after the attack, praising those violent insurrectionists as patriots.
I knew those are people that love this country, that truly respect law enforcement, would never do anything to break a law, and so I wasn't concerned. Now, had the tables been turned, and Joe, this got me in trouble, had the tables been turned and President Trump won the election, and those were tens of thousands of Black Lives Matter and Antifa protesters, I might have been a little concerned.
Unsurprisingly, most Wisconsinites don't agree with Ron Johnson that the January 6th attackers love their country very, very much. That might be one reason why Johnson is struggling so heavily against Barnes in what should be an easy race for the incumbent Republican. A YouGov CBS News poll conducted earlier this month now shows that race in a statistical tie. And it isn't just Wisconsin that has Republicans shaking. In Ohio, centrist Democrat Tim Ryan took the bat to trust fund baby J.D. Vance. Now, full disclosure, I've criticized Ryan for his centrist positions in the past, but as a Midwesterner, I can tell you, what you're about to hear Ryan say really resonates with the voters who will decide this race.
And here's the thing that's most troubling about this, lack of courage, is that after Trump took J.D. Vance's dignity from him on the stage in Youngstown, J.D. Vance got back up on stage and started shaking his hand, taking pictures, saying, "Hey, aren't we having a great time here tonight?" I don't know anybody I grew up with, I don't know anybody I went to high school with that would allow somebody to take their dignity like that and then get back up on stage. We need leaders who have courage to take on their own party, and I've proven that, and he was called an ass kisser by the former president. I'm for Ohio. I don't kiss anyone's ass like him. Ohio needs an ass kicker, not an ass kisser.
Vance didn't have a response to that, in part because there is no response to that. Remember, J.D. Vance barely made it out of the Ohio Republican primary, and many local Republicans have criticized him for being an out-of-towner more loyal to Donald Trump than to Ohio. Now Tim Ryan is reminding those voters exactly why they hate Vance so much. And in some cases, Republican candidates are deciding it's probably smarter to run away from the debate stage than to try and defend their records. Prominent New Jerseyan Dr. Oz looks poised to bail on his first debate against Democratic challenger John Fetterman. And that isn't the only thing Oz is skipping. The TV doctor and alleged enemy of dogs skipped his endorsement interview with a major Pennsylvania newspaper editorial board, leading Fetterman to relentlessly mock Oz on Twitter. "I had a stroke and I showed up," Fetterman said. "What's your excuse?" Oz's campaign has recently been engaging in really disgusting rhetoric about Fetterman's stroke. implying that Fetterman simply doesn't have the mental capacity to be a senator, which raises a very interesting question. If Fetterman is so incapable of basic thought, why is Dr. Oz so afraid to actually debate him? It shouldn't come as any surprise that Republicans think debating is below them. After all, a majority of GOP nominees currently running have denied the legitimacy of the 2020 election. Not only do they think talking to voters is a waste of time, they think elections are a waste of time, too. And when your campaign is funded by huge bankrollers like billionaire Peter Thiel, well, you don't need to talk to regular people. Thiel's money does that for you. That's why it's more important than ever for candidates to follow the examples of Tim Ryan, Mandela Barnes, and John Fetterman, and expose these wingnut election deniers for the frauds they truly are. If these Republicans win their elections next month and take power in Washington, it will throw our nation into a constitutional crisis, and there's no guarantee we're getting out of it in one piece. According to research by 538, 60% of Americans will have the chance to vote for an election denier on their ballot this fall. Those candidates don't want to debate because they know just how unpopular their views really are. Their only hope is that voters simply won't do the research to see just how extreme the Republicans are. It's up to Democrats to tell those stories at their debates, whether Republicans show up or not. Barnes, Fetterman, and Ryan offer Democrats across the country a winning template for holding the GOP's feet to the fire. The only way Democrats beat these election-denying cranks is by forcing them to face the one thing they hate more than anything else: accountability before the American people. If you made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. Please leave a like and consider subscribing. And leave a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.